Billiken fans, welcome back. It's Zach Miller and Peter Hale. It's the Midtown Madness Podcast. Before we get going, again, thank you so much for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe button down below, as well as that bell to get notified every time an episode drops. You guys know the drill. This episode and the whole season of the Midtown Madness Podcast is brought to you by Two Men in a Garden. Whether you like it mild or hot, chunky or cantina style, the people over at Two Men have you covered. Pete, I got to say, this weekend, I made a decision that I haven't made in a long time. Mostly, and I got to say, I don't often get salsa at the grocery store. Why? Not because it's because Two Men in the Garden is so damn good that I can't be trusted not to eat the entire jar in a single sitting. But I did it for the games on Saturday, including the St. Louis City game. And that medium salsa with a few pulses in the food processor was picture perfect. It tasted unbelievable. Go get yourself some Two Men in a Garden salsa tomorrow, tonight, whenever. It's great all the time. You can go get it at any local grocery store. If you're out of town, check out their website at twomeninthegarden.com. They're on social media at Two Men Salsa on Instagram and Twitter. Pete, I need to confess something to the loyal listeners as well. Another thing, and this is my second confession of the episode. I need to apologize as well. In all honesty, I had this grand plan for this episode to pull audio clips from the Travis Ford introductory press conference with Pestello and May talking about expectations for the basketball program. But I honestly got nauseous 4 minutes and 36 seconds in, so I scrapped the idea.
Was there anything specific that really made you uncomfortable?
I think I told you the amount of times May said, made this happen was funny to me. He said, you could have turned it into a drinking game. And I don't know, Pestello just, it was something like, I just felt like he's not like, why are you putting him in front of the mic to say anything about basketball? Like, I just don't get like I get he's a rah guy for basketball, right? He's a lunatic, right? He doesn't necessarily know the game, but he's got school spirit.
Sure.
Which is great. But don't put him in front of the mic to talk about program expectations, because I don't think he knows what he's saying. Does he it was just it was something about Pestello. The first thing he wanted to do after he took the job was come over and look at Chaffetz.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, it was just built. Of course, it's the newest damn building on campus.
Yeah, right. The fun part of the tour.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's what's really got the bug up my ass is the PR. I would venture to say it's just been a debacle. And the way that the administration's talking to fans through the media, I don't get where their head's at. Is this really their expectations? And I don't know. What do you see you've been out of town. And we're going to get into the Stu Durando article. And like you said, you've been out of town. So I'm going to do a cold listen with you, a cold reaction from you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
What the first couple that earlier this week, what was your thought process when I don't know, when you hear dismissing the expectations that you've heard set 7 years ago?
It's always funny to me, right? When you see a player who announces, I'm staying at this school, right? In the age of the transfer portal, we now see people getting graphics and putting out statements and announcements to say no announcement, basically. And it's funny when you're talking about a coach, and the company line is, we're sticking with our coach, right? You don't say something like that if things are going well. There's a very loud and growing sense of unrest among the fan base. That it kind of feels like people have lost patience. We've talked a lot in recent weeks about people claiming they're not going to renew their season tickets. A lot of people are just kind of fed up, and this season the expectations were high and were not met. And there are all kinds of rumors that have yet to be substantiated about all of the sort of backroom dealings that's going on right now. And
did you ever think Succession and Billiken basketball would kind of feel just like an episode of it?
So when I watch, if I'm able to watch Succession tonight, maybe tomorrow, I wonder if I'm going to start blending the two narratives together, if it's really going to start confusing me. But no, I mean, it's clear that they feel the need to respond to what is now an undeniable, like they can't just ignore it, right? Like there's enough of a swell of people who are upset of fan outcry to say, who they're saying you got to do something. Not everybody agrees on what that is and how it should be done, but they clearly see the need to respond. And from what I've seen early on, and not having read the Stu article yet, which we'll get to in a minute, from what I've seen early on, it just hasn't been handled very well. And there's something that's a little condescending in the age of such intense fandom and social media and 24/7 awareness of what's going on in your program. There's just something a little, I don't know if it's condescending. I don't know if it's naive or a bit
know
ignorant.
better than you.
Well, yeah, or that they just assume that, yeah, right, like that we just don't know what we're talking about.
All right, here's an example, right? The St. Louis ambush, right? I'm wearing a city shirt, so soccer on the brain. The St. Louis ambush, the way they operate social media, they almost own. You would never think they played a road game, ever, unless they don't advertise that they're playing a game. They barely tweet the score, but like home games, all of it. Like, so like they try their best to, they ignore the losses. It's kind of that kind of vibe is what I'm getting. It's like you draw a fine line between being a sports Twitter account and a birthday account, right?
Right. Sure.
Like at some point, like the janitor at Chaffetz doesn't need a birthday shout out, right?
Right.
I mean, it's nice, but like it just doesn't need to be done. But yeah, I think it's just kind of saying that you don't know what's going on, we know what's going on. You're not seeing what you're seeing.
It's that, but it's, look, they do have the advantage of the fact that at a private school, these contracts are not necessarily public information unless somebody decides to share them. And so there's not even consensus among the fan base about what the contract is for Travis Ford right now. My best guess at it was based on a tweet that we saw back in 2021 that said he had signed a lucrative extension. So I thought, well, he's probably got 3 years left after this one. And we know he's making close to $2.5 million. So those were the numbers that I was kind of crunching. There have been other places where, and this has, been shared publicly among people just speculating, but there have been other places where people think that he's got an evergreen contract that auto renews every season unless it's canceled by one of the parties. But then that would have a long tail on it, right? So there's not full transparency about what the contract actually is. And so that's one issue. I mean, I think what's pretty clear by the fact that you've got the athletic director and president and other people coming forward and saying, look, he's the coach, this is what we're doing. I mean, maybe not saying it in those words are the best way, but what's clear is there's probably a lot of contract years and or dollars left to buy out, and they're just not in a place where they can do that or going to do that. Or the people who could do that aren't stepping up to do that. So if that's the situation, I'm fine with that, but your messaging has to be better.
Yes.
It can't be this is, like the meme of the dog sitting in a fire. This is fine. Like it can't be that. It has to be.
You look down at what Mizzou women's basketball did. Oh, you haven't seen it. You've been out. Basically, women's basketball moving forward with head coach, clear expectations have been, it's made clear these are the expectations of the program, which again have been since the hiring of Travis Ford. It seems as though it's been NCAA tournament, A10 championships. Right. I when you say A10 championships, I say A10 regular season championships. Sure. I don't give a flying shit about the A10 tournament. Like, that's not success. Winning the A10 tournament's not a success if you don't, if you're not already in the NCAA tournament.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is your ticket, it is your path if you've underperformed in the regular season, right? But
I would gladly take it.
We want to be talking about a seed,
yes,
and not whether or not we have a shot to win the conference tournament and get in. That's the conversation we want to be having every year. We finished in the top 4, a decent amount under him, but only 4th. Like, we've never come in higher than 4th. And finishing under 4th to me is for SLU not good in the A10.
Do you consider this season a 4th place finish?
Yes,
because yes. Okay.
Look, people can say, oh, tiebreakers, whatever. I mean, the rules are the rules, right? Like, all you had to do was win
Vietnam.
You win one more game and you're in 2nd place. So I don't want to hear people who are like, well, we tied for 2nd. It's like, no, we were 4th in the conference tournament, which meant we had to play VCU in the semifinals. And that wouldn't have been the case on the other side. We would have played Dayton or Fordham if in 3rd or 2nd. So yeah, the people what I care about is, like, where did we actually finish, right? Like, had we beat Dayton or Fordham, not even both, we could have been 2nd, but we didn't. We lost to the teams that were 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So yeah, we're the 4th place team, even though our record's technically the same on paper. The tiebreakers matter. They actually have a purpose, a function that can't be ignored. So yeah, I don't disagree that it was disappointing, and the messaging so far from what I've seen, and I haven't seen everything yet, but the early returns to me have not been strong.
It's interesting because you talked about the unrest and how, the succession, backroom dealings, that kind of stuff. It feels like it all kicked off because Travis decided he needed to go on air before the A10 tournament and enthusiastically back Travis Ford for years. Like, at this point,
Chris May did.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Chris May went. Yeah, right. I apologize. Right. Chris May went, like, it feels like Chris May made this whole, that kicked it off. Like, dude, just Travis Ford's our coach going into next season. We haven't had the results works. We're looking forward to the A10 tournament and the prospect of winning the A10 tournament. Travis Ford is our coach going into 22 or 23-24.
Yeah.
Bang. Done.
Yeah, I know.
That's
I
it.
think
and again, like I've said in many other forums, like, you would have had groans from those who are ready for a change. You would have had eye rolls from those who are ready for a change. And that's it. That's it. Clearly, everybody knows Travis Ford has time on his deal. Everybody does. Everybody knows that the buyout's an issue. You can get, like you said, you can get away with silently blaming the buyout. You just acknowledge that fans are not happy. Just do it. Like, it's not admitting failure. It's admitting that we didn't succeed in the way we expected to this season. We're looking to make the A10 tournament a success. We're looking to make next year a success with Travis Ford.
Right.
That's all you had to do. But instead you, look, again, I'm not arguing whether or not you should fire him this season. I really don't care at this point. Like we're at the end of March. Like I don't care. But like, don't talk to us like we're not seeing what we're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, when you say a very long time instead of next season, that's a big difference. That's a big difference.
I'm
And
gonna be
that's
dating this girl for a very long time. Like that, like that sounds like many years to me. I don't
right.
know.
But also, I mean, that's a point where Chris May can go, where he can go, look, like you said, this season was a bit of a disappointment. We're looking forward to the A10 tournament coming up this weekend. We think we've got a really good shot. We like where we are, like how we're playing lately, blah, blah, blah. But moving forward, we also want to look at all of the other reasons why maybe this season didn't meet expectations. And what are the things that we can do as an athletic department to make sure that this program has all of the resources it needs to be competitive, blah, blah, blah. Some kind of company line like that, you're not committing to anything publicly, except we're really taking a hard look at this. Like we're showing that we care. We're doing all we can. But the unsaid thing right there, the thing he can't say, the thing a couple of weeks ago I said that, like, if he were totally honest, he could say is like, we can't pay this buyout plus another high level coach.
Yeah.
People, like, that's just not how it is. So, but if you say things like we were talking about, you've at least signaled like, we get it. We know we're going to do all that we can. And if it doesn't work out, we know how this goes. That's the unsaid part that you can make more obvious by saying things other than, we love the trajectory of the program and we think Travis is going to be the coach for a very long time. And I think his other line in there was, we're attracting the high level talent that it takes to be competitive at this level, or something like that. Which,
I'm eye rolling.
Didn't bear out this season. Yeah.
So let's get into this article. Like I said, I am going to, well, if I can get this to actually work properly, I'm going to unhide all of this. So here we go. All right. First quote, this from May. It didn't go well as we hoped, talking about the season. May said, now, how do you move forward and put the pieces together?
Okay. All right.
Great.
Fair enough.
Yes. And I think my comment in the notes was, okay, great. There you go, Chris.
Yeah.
There you go. You're getting this thing.
Right.
Next quote, Pestello. Certainly there was a lot of hype about how strong we were, and we didn't do as well as we would have hoped, Pestello said, but it was not a bad season. We had some unfortunate things happen. Nonetheless, Travis is our coach. I have confidence in Travis moving forward. I support that we're not going to make a change.
That's one where he probably went on a little too long there, it feels like.
Yes.
And kind of softened it a little bit. I think May's starting out and saying, we get it. It's like an acknowledgement, we get it. It's Domino's coming out with a new pizza recipe and saying, hey, our pizza was terrible, but now it's better.
Yeah, it's new Coke.
It's an acknowledgement.
My comment was, no, this is not it. Like, did we have, like, unfortunate things happen is losing Javante Perkins for the year last year. Unfortunate things happen.
Right. That's right.
Fred Thatch going down with an injury. However, that's post the worst loss of the season.
Right.
Actually, I don't know. Would you consider Fordham or SIUE worse? I don't know.
I mean, on SIUE's the worst loss. I mean, to the worst team that we lost to this season, and it was an 18-point lead at home. But yeah, regardless, that's way too soft. I just, it doesn't sound like there's an acknowledgement of any accountability there.
This one is interesting because he says some good things here, but I question, the last 2-3 sentences, maybe. This is May again. You're always making adjustments and tweaks. May said, it's about how you keep growing and positioning yourself. Now we've won 20 games 4 years in a row. Is that the only barometer? No, but it's a barometer. Now, how are you going to win the A10? We need to be in the championship game and win. We're not making excuses.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. So I don't like that second to last line. We need to be in the championship game and win. I mean, like, that's true of the 1 seed. That's true of the 15 seed if you're in the A10 this year, because it was a 1 bid league.
Mm-hmm.
SLU was really the only school in the A10 that gave itself a real and legitimate shot to win, to get an NCAA tournament bid based on its strength of schedule. The problem was they lost too many games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of the things Travis said, he was kind of mad that he didn't quite get good advice on how the net ranking system worked, and our schedule was therefore too hard, and stuff like that. And it's like, well, look, man, if you didn't lose to SIUE, if you had beaten a couple more of the Q1 and Q2 teams that you had on the schedule, it wouldn't have been a problem. Like, you can't lose at home to SIUE. You can't go on the road and lose to UMass. You can't lose to teams by the margin that they did, against like Maryland and Iona. The last one against VCU, you can't do that. That's where the issue was. Had they won a few more games, and I think it really would have only taken 3 or 4 more, that would have put them very much in the at-large picture. And that's to me what it comes down to. Now, next year, if they give themselves a super soft schedule and we wind up being a 1 bid league again, it's like, well, who cares? What was the point? You have to. I've always been a believer in scheduling hard, and I think they did that this season. They just didn't win enough. So saying like we need to win the A10 championship every year is really, like, I mean, that's
Meaning the tournament championship.
correct.
Yeah.
The A10 tournament every year. That is not at all what I want to see. I don't want to have to go into the conference tournament every year going, I hope we do it. At least some of the time I want to be
That's
thinking
what George
about,
Mason
we're
does.
playing for a seed. We're not playing for a spot.
No. Yeah, I said not terrible, okay, but
Yeah.
why is the focus on the tournament? We
Yeah.
need to be winning the regular season crown. This isn't the CAA.
That's right.
Shout out VCU. Old Dominion. Next quote is May again. Travis and his staff have done a good job bringing in talent that can compete. And we're in the middle of that right now. May said, we have very high level players that have interest in coming here. Between the NIL collective being operational and the O'Loughlin Champion Center, those are pieces that can help put you in position. What's he talking about?
Well, I mean, he's trying to zoom out and say, look at all the resources we've got as an athletic department, and let the program has access to, and that I get what he's doing. I mean, he's being an athletic director there, and not a, maybe more of a coach minded answer there. But his first statement about bringing in talent that can compete, I don't disagree that we have some really talented players, but maybe this roster was not put together the way it should have been. It felt like we had some missing pieces this season. And that's something that they need to address going forward. It seems like Ford has really, this was year 7, right? I mean, he's always had this reputation as a guy who brings in talent. If you've got high level talent in the A10, to me, it's very hard to understand why that team is not finishing within the top 4 every year, no matter what happens. There are a lot of not very good coaches out there who have really talented teams that finish in the top 3 of their conference. I'm not saying Ford's not a good coach at all, but I'm just saying I think he gets credited for bringing in more talent than he's actually bringing in.
Yeah.
I want to see the talent upgraded.
Yeah, I mean, again, we had quote unquote less talent in 2011 through 2014. I mean, I said, so what to this, right? Like, yeah, good. Okay, those are all things we have. What don't we have with that? Results, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell me that like the O'Loughlin Champion Center and NIL money are gonna finally put us over the top 7 years later. You can't tell me that changes enough, right?
He's really just reminding us of just how much investment there has been. And
Yes.
it's when you're making the tournament one time because of a hot team that won the conference tournament out of 7 attempts, that is a low ROI for the highest salary for a coach in the A10, and world-class facilities, and now more facilities coming online, an NIL program coming online, the things that you need now to really compete for top talent. We'll see, man. I mean, they're going to go big in the portal this spring, and I hope they hit, because that they have to, quite honestly.
Next is again May. And this one, you're not gonna love this one. The 20 win mark does not have the same significance it once did, but May said it is indicative of a positive trend. Absolutely. Yeah, it means something. He said a lot of it is trajectory. Are you going like this up or like that down? It's a huge difference.
The 20 wins doesn't mean anything for us anymore because we're in the Atlantic 10.
That's
it means
correct.
something if you're in the Big East or the ACC or the SEC or something like that, but not in the A10 this year. I mean, this league was horrible, and most teams, unlike SLU, were not playing a very hard schedule. So if you showed me our schedule at the beginning of the season, and I would have, and I knew we had a good non-conference schedule, but we all thought the league was going to be better than it was. But even before knowing how bad the league was, 20 was no. That's not going to do it. I mean, because you're already playing 18 games in this league, and we really only, even when we thought it was a stronger league, there were really only a few other teams that we kind of looked at as peers. So 20 wins against this league is kind of a disaster. I mean, no matter how hard your non-conference was, you've still got bye games in there, and then you've still got A10 games that are the equivalent of bye games. I mean, it's just, no, 20 wins. He's right. It doesn't mean anything anymore. I mean, it's good to know there's kind of like a floor, right? I mean,
No, well, Travis did, or sorry, Chris May didn't say it means nothing. That was, I think.
Oh, you added that. Oh,
No,
okay.
that was Stu who like wrote that in the article.
I see. So
it
his
says,
quote.
so
Yeah,
Stu says the 20 win mark. Sorry, I should have said in response to the 20 win mark does not have the same significance it once did.
I see. Okay. He said,
but yeah.
He said, yeah, it means something. A lot of this trajectory. Are you going up like this or down? Well, I mean, I feel like the point there is that it's not up or down. It's a plateau, right? Like it's been right around 20 for 4 years. That's to me, that's the issue.
Yeah.
If 4 seasons ago was 20 and now it's 25 or 26, that's meaningful.
Or what, 20 wins in an NIT bid versus 20. Whatever. I don't give a shit. I'm so exhausted over this. Like, I need to log off and touch grass. I need to take my own advice. Pete, should Billiken fans be worried? I think on the level that, like, yeah, the discussion needs to be had. What the hell are the expectations now? And should Billiken fans go into a season expecting to put a team on the floor that's going to at least compete for an at-large bid, or have any sort of, goals that are outside of the Atlantic 10? Is the goal to build this program up to the point where we are then attractive to other school or other conferences, right? The Big East. That's the one that everybody fucking talks about all the time, right? Like, do these guys care? Does Chris May want that? Is Chris May's goal that? Does Fred Pestello even know what the Big East is?
Yeah, so Fred Pestello was at his previous university was Lemoyne, up in upstate New York, and when he was there is when they beat Syracuse. D2 Lemoyne College beat Syracuse, as we all know is a powerhouse in D1. That's a big deal. I think Syracuse by that point was in the ACC. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think they were still in the Big East, but he certainly saw the bump that Lemoyne got in attention from that. Not just a bump. I mean, it was an explosion of attention. He knows the value of an athletic program that is achieving, the goals at the highest level. I mean, he's seen it from that experience. Like, oh wow, this can really mean something. So I think he's got to know that. I mean, I don't think athletics is his skill set necessarily. He's done a lot of other things, and it's fine, right? Like a lot of people who get to the highest levels of academia aren't necessarily the same people who are super conversant in sports and business that way. That's fine. That's what you have an athletic director for. And I've got to think May or anybody else who knows anything, like, yeah, that's the goal. The problem is we've done everything but win. We can offer the Big East an attractive new market, great facilities, an institution that's very much in line with the other institutions that it has academically, endowment, all of the metrics you want to look at are there. This program has not won. Everybody else in the Big East has won, even if it's DePaul and they haven't won for a long time, or if it's Butler and they're a little bit newer. Butler was making Sweet 16 and Elite Eight runs regularly out of the horizon. We've never made a Sweet 16, and now we're struggling to get above the 4 line in the A10. Like, to me, it's like if this is our marquee program. It's like the other Big East schools that don't have football. It's our revenue sport, like this, but it's just chronically underachieved. So that to me is the one thing that gives me pause, that makes me believe the Big East at this point is still a reach, a dream. I agree that we're doing everything else that a program can do to make itself attractive to the Big East, and I salute them for that. I think they're doing a great job with that. I don't know what to do when our marquee program cannot win and doesn't win when it matters, and that's in March.
And I think, you don't have you have an administration that seems to just keep putting its foot in its mouth and is not providing proper or not proper, but like reasonable communication to its fans, that like the fans aren't seeing what they want to see. And I don't even think that's at this point a movement as far as the job go. The I don't even think it's firing Travis. I don't even think the fan base wants that as bad as they just want to be heard, man. Like, I know there are people that have been banging the drum to fire Ford for years now. I mean, since he got hired, there's always been somebody that's kind of been banging that drum. And obviously it has crescendoed in the past season. But again, like above that, fans just don't want to be like disengaged with. Like, it legit feels like we don't matter.
Coaching in big time college basketball, whether you want to call us big time or not, there's always, no matter what, you are going to have detractors immediately and forever. And that's part of the job, and you've got to get used to it. And Travis Ford has.
That's why you get paid $2.5 million.
Exactly. He has plenty of reasons that he can get over that, and he can tune that noise out. The issue is, you're right. I think, yes, fans want to be heard, but I think they just want a clear vision, right? They don't want kind of a soft, squishy, well, he's our guy, for now. He's our guy for now. Like it has to be. They just have to be more honest. Like I think it's becoming more true in like politics and every other aspect of life, when you're just straight with people and just say, look, here are our limitations. Here's what went wrong. Here's what I think we can do to make it right. Like, just be straight with people. I just get tired of the rah, vague couple of sentences here and there. And even now, May kind of acknowledge like he was a little reckless in his comments before the A10 tournament. It still has to be clear, like what you plan to do about this, because as we've said repeatedly, fans are very, very restless right now. And if you're going to say Travis Ford's our guy, we have to have a clear vision of how that looks moving forward. Because speaking of fans not being dumb, we all know we're looking at a completely new roster next year. Where the players who are staying did not play much this season. The players who did play a lot are gone. And we just don't know what the roster is going to look like completely, because we've got to fill out some spots. But I think a lot of people saw a veteran team that played together for years not succeed, and they're wondering, how can a completely new group of guys all of a sudden win?
Yeah.
It's we want to know what this looks like in 1, 2, 3 years.
I think my one question I have for you is what is the power, like I've talked about power dynamics, right? In the athletic department. I mean, you've kind of, it's kind of almost seems like, obviously I think Chris May has put himself in a position where he's overpaid and overextended a coach who hasn't performed up to the expectations laid out in his press conference. It's put him he's put himself in a shit position. But it seems like when he talks, it's almost like he's like afraid that Travis is going to leave. Like that we need Travis and not the other way around. And I think it's much more of a mutual needing of each other. If that, like Travis needs to rehabilitate his coaching legacy to get back to, if he wants to get back, or, whatever. And the Billikens need a coach that can bring in talent and eventually win games. And I really don't think Chris May should have any problem going out there and saying, look, like there are clear expectations going forward. This season was not good enough. But Chris May has said, he's gone on record and said there was never any wavering when it comes to Travis Ford as head coach. And we talked about the succession style rumors. I mean, do we believe that?
The unnamed party here is the boosters, right? May is in a funny position because college athletic directors make less than their star coaches, whether it's football or basketball. And that's probably, I don't know what Chris May makes, but I think Travis Ford, it's safe to say, makes more than him. That's a weird dynamic, right? Where the person who is the bigger name, the bigger salary, reports up to another person. That's weird. So I think probably what's not being said in a lot of their statements is, or has to do with the dynamic with boosters and who's funding the program and who's funding everything that they want to do. Who does Chris May have to keep happy, and who do they like? And it seems like, based on those comments, Ford probably has some pretty important allies within that funding group, right? Who specifically and to what degree, and who's on the same page with the people who support him, I don't know enough concrete details about that to say. But I think May is always speaking in a way where he knows he has to keep the right people happy, or at least not upset the wrong people. You know what I mean? Like that. I think that dynamic is always there in the background, and it's not just as easy as, yeah, I have an employee who makes more than me, but he's really not performed up to snuff. There are other people that he's talking to besides just the rank and file fans, season ticket holders, post dispatch readers, whoever might be seeing his quotes.
Do you think NIL, I guess not, do you think, because it's obviously, I think it definitely plays a part. How much do you think NIL affects the messaging out of out of Chris May regarding Travis Ford as head coach? Because, you're right now, like you said, they're in the middle of it with trying to bring in transfers and recruits in NIL. And so I can certainly understand a positive spin trying to, again, kind of pull the shade over people's, like, I can trying to get more money, making sure that fans are actually donating to the NIL.
I think that is that's actually probably the most important thing that we haven't talked about yet. It really is continuity is something that recruits and their families want to know is there before they commit to a school. And one of the things that I'm seeing from SLU in the transfer portal this year, the people that they're reaching out to, basically all of them have 2 or more years remaining of eligibility, mostly 2 or 3 years. They're recruiting a lot of freshmen and sophomores. Not really recruiting
College freshmen, sophomores, not
yeah, of
not high
course,
school.
of
Yeah,
course.
yeah,
Transfers, yeah, yeah.
I just wanted to make that clear because for my dumb brain, if my
Sure.
dumb brain for half a second didn't get it, somebody else is gonna,
But yeah, they're recruiting transfers who aren't just, like your Jake Forresters who are 1 year grad transfer kind of guys. They're looking at a longer term on all of the transfers, and those players are gonna want to know that he's going to be around. I don't know how much of this noise that recruits would be aware of, because as far as you can tell, the way the staff has behaved on the recruiting trail, it's business as usual. And they're just out there going to events, they're visiting recruits in home. They're doing the things that they do in the off season, in the earliest days of the off season. Everything's been normal on that front. So I don't know. A recruit would really have to start doing some digging to kind of, you know, to hear the noise from the fans and what the future is. So I don't know what those conversations are like and whether Travis and his assistants try and get out in front of that or not, on the recruiting trail. Like it's a question of whether, do I get out in front of it or do I not draw attention to it? I don't know how they're handling that, but I do think that actually is one of the best arguments for, May, Pestello, whoever else, publicly committing to the head coach, so that when players do look it up, going, I thought they were going to be better this season, they underperformed. Maybe they find a tweet or an article or whatever, seeing the university president or the athletic director saying he's our coach, at least gives them some comfort in that regard. But like I said earlier, I think that's also an opportunity for May to be clearer about that, right? Like he can just say that. Like when I said before, like this was a disappointing season, but what can we do as an athletic department? What resources can we give them to succeed moving forward? I think there's more that can be said to kind of make it clear that that's why you're saying this, or one of the reasons why anyway.
Yeah, it's so we could literally go on for hours, and I wouldn't mind it honestly, but I'm sure people that listen to this, they get tired of hearing it. I think the main thing is, like, just be honest with your fan base. Don't beat around the bush with us. Like, you can. What I'm saying is, this has been an hour infomercial for the MMP PR service. We're available for hire. All we need is season tickets to every event. And I'll do it in my free time. No, I think, we talked about green flags on Twitter, and I think we might have discussed it back in our last episode, when we realized that Travis Ford was indeed going to be the head coach next year, and things we wanted to see from him going forward. One of those being a return to Team Blue style of play that was made, I guess not famous, but made aware by, the Javon Besses, the Hassan Frenches, the Jordan Goodwins. And we're kind of doing that in the portal, it looks like.
We know they've visited several players in home, can confirm 2 of them so far. Robert Jennings, a 6'7", 225-pound freshman from Texas Tech, and CJ Nolan, who's 6'2", 230, bigger than Thatch by a decent margin, by the way.
Big boy.
Sophomore guard from Oklahoma. So Jennings more of a power forward type, strong, athletic, above the rim, kind of developing as a shooter, but he's a good rebounder. Texas Tech is going through a coaching change right now, and he's also looking for a bigger role. He didn't play much this season, a little under 9 minutes a game, and put up 2.7 points per game and 1.9 rebounds per game this season. So it's kind of makes sense on paper why he'd be moving on right now. Nolan from Oklahoma, like you said, big boy, tremendous frame, really physical guard. Started out early. Well, actually, he started early this season. Like their first 8 games, he was the starter, but then was benched behind another player. After that, he kind of struggled to find his shot this season. But he's this player who he's got really big potential. He's a unique player. And I think he's a guy to me who looks like he really needs a change of scenery. When you see somebody's shooting numbers kind of drop off in their sophomore year, and his role got minimized as the season went on. I think he needs to move on. These are both guys, like you said, the team blue we think of: Goodwin, French, tough, athletic, physical. Ford knows how to win with that
free
style.
throw shooting.
Poor free throw shooting. They're not French bad, but yeah, they're kind of like 60-ish% free throw shooters, which is, if you're 70, I'm fine, but 60 is not great.
I will say this, look, and I don't know what exactly Brock Weiss and Zhang are going to bring to the table as freshmen. But look, Brock Weiss looks college ready, right? Zhang looks polished at a college level, right? So look, those are both they bring a lot of skill, both Brock Weiss and Zhang. So I think, it's a nice yin and yang to, so we've, Jesus, I didn't even mean to.
I don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind going younger at the 5 this season if we've got
dudes,
at least not
dudes.
young, maybe not young for 40 minutes, but if we've got a real dude at the 4 at any given time, which is not something we've had in years, right? I think that's something that I'd be fine with, in getting those guys up to speed, getting them some experience. They each bring something a little bit different. But we also made the top 5 for a sophomore transfer from Central Arkansas, Cameron Hunter. Other 4 are Mizzou, Arkansas, Loyola, and Butler. He's a 6'3" guard who averaged almost 17 points a game, 5 rebounds a game, about 4 assists per game. This, Zach, is kind of the combo guard we've been looking for years. It's a tough competition. Sometimes guys,
where have you
transfers,
been all our life?
I know. Sometimes guys will kind of put schools that maybe are not their strong, like they're not the top priority for them. They'll put them in their top 5, will it into existence. In this case, he actually has visited Arkansas. He is talking to Mizzou. Those are schools that reach out to a ton of transfers and might not necessarily really want to push for all of them. And then Loyola, obviously within our conference, and Butler is another kind of peer school, or at least we want them to be our peer in the Big East. So it's a tough group to compete with. But he's a really, man, would he be him and Medley in the backcourt, I would feel pretty good about, because one of the things that makes me nervous about Medley is not having been Collins' understudy for a year, right? It's more of a clean handoff at point guard,
unless Collins comes back,
which I'm not counting on.
No.
But I would feel a lot better if you've got a guy like this, who'd be a junior, who can really score, who can pass. I think that completely changes the dynamic in the backcourt. So if we could hit on guys like this, I'd feel a lot better coming into next season with a really new roster.
One thing I kind of want to bring up is, and I meant to, it fits somewhere in between recruiting and transfers and our discussion of the way things have been handled. But, I think there are a lot of transfers and a lot of players that really don't. I think the coach's job security isn't really high on their list. Everybody thinks they're going to be the program changing player, right? They're the guy that's going to come in and take this team over the top. So again, some players, relish the idea that, fans are looking for that dude and they want to be that dude. So it's not all bad. Like being negative about the coaching situation and the trajectory of the program. Dudes come in and have chips on their shoulder. Like that's the kind of dude I want on a Billiken team. Like that's what that asshole Gates did to the West. He did well with the A10 and CAA All-Stars or the Horizon League All-Stars. Like he literally played mid-major All-Stars and won decently in the SEC.
Yeah, I think there might be something to that. You're right. I mean, everybody enters with a little bit of an ego, thinking like, yeah, I can be that player. I can be the difference maker. I'm the guy. I think there's also something to be said for being needed, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's part of it too. There's the one thing that gives me pause is the NCAA did come out and say that they're going to kind of clamp down again on people who transfer more than once. Like they've ripped down a lot of the barriers for transfers, but now you're seeing guys transfer 2, 3, 4 times, and they want to clamp down on that. The guys who are just bouncing every year. So I think if they are enforcing that and guys are looking at transfers as a one-time event, maybe a little more so than they have been the last 2 or 3 years, maybe that will give them a little more pause to be like, hey, if I'm a freshman or sophomore looking for somewhere for the next 2 or 3 years, I need to make it the right choice this time. Maybe the first place didn't work out for whatever reason, but the second one has to. So I think that's the one sort of counterpoint to that. Is at least something to be aware of. Whether that is going to be something that the NCAA enforces or if it plays out like that in players' minds, I don't know, but it's at least something to note.
On the high school recruiting side, let's be a couple of grown men talking about a 17-year-old.
Nicholas Cody, a 2024
creep.
6'8", high school junior, I guess. A 6'8" forward from Newman Smith High School in Carrollton, Texas. He plays for the Southern Assault AAU program, which is one that Forte is really tight with. Long-standing relationships with that program. We've offered a lot of guys out of there. We've been in the top 5 for a few. I don't think we've hit on one yet. But he's a long, hardworking big man. He's productive at both ends. He looks bigger than 6'8", by the way. In the video I've seen, he's got a 7'2" wingspan. He blocks a ton of shots, not just because of his length, but he's good timing, good rebounder, and he can also kind of step out and shoot it a bit from mid-range and beyond. But he's really tough around the rim. The other thing I really like about his game is for being a big guy like that and young, he's comfortable with the ball in his hands. He can handle it in the open court. He can pass. He's not afraid to take it himself. He does have other offers right now from Cal, Tulsa, North Texas, Texas Arlington, and Sam Houston State. So SLU's number 6. And the fun fact that you found out, Zach, his dad played for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, he played for the Steelers and the Lions. He also played college football at Baylor. Attended Cleburne High School in Cleburne, Texas.
Nakia Cody? I don't know how to say his first name. Nakia.
Yeah, no, it's not Nokia, but
one letter off.
That does remind me of how jealous I was of all the cool kids with Nokia phones back in the day, because I had Verizon and it wasn't on. They didn't have the Nokia phones. I was on Motorola or whatever. I don't know. Screw it. Yeah. So there's some big A10 coaching news to come out of Fairfax, Virginia, Pete.
Yeah, huge. Kim English is out at George Mason. I say that like he got fired, but no, he left. He lobbied hard for the Providence job that Ed Cooley left, and he got it. What do you think of this, Zach? I mean, this is
I'm gonna sign up for his like self-help class. I need to learn from you, Kimmy. Teach me the ways.
You guys are about the same age, right?
Yes.
I mean,
Oh, I hate my life. Oh, I'm disgusted with myself, Peter.
Well, I mean, hey, look,
I'm glad I live on the first floor.
that's too dark. Too dark for our show.
Sorry.
Um,
Yeah.
Look, I mean, he's kind of the BJ Novak in The Office. I'm forgetting his character's
Yes.
name.
Yes. It's Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan, with his MBA and his meteoric rise and then fall from grace. English has not had his fall yet, but like 2 seasons at Mason, no tournament appearance. He seems like a bit of a culture guy. He's young, he's energetic, he's going to have all of the superlatives that come with being such a young coach. But this is a big job, of a 6-year contract, and I'm assuming a lot of money. I don't think they're going to pay him quite what they paid Cooley, but Cooley was a top 15 coach in the country, I think, in terms of salary. So
it feels like all the big coaches are hyping Kim Coyne to the moon.
that was your analogy, that he's the
cryptocurrency of college coaches. Tremaine Isabel did not take well to that. He did not like that. He didn't like that.
He didn't.
Which is fine. Like, I'm not saying that, like, yeah, Kim English has done some good things. I mean,
but it's true that he is a purely speculative hire, right? I mean, like, I guess we've seen, I don't know if you want to compare him to any of like the soccer or other coaches hired at SLU who were kind of young and on the come up, and
you can't compare him. I don't think you can compare him to field hockey because we just hire someone who will take that job. I'm not blaming May for that. That's fine. It's what it is. But yeah, I think it would be probably similar to Kat. What was her name? Before Shields.
Oh yeah, I'm forgetting.
I can't think of her name, but I mean Shields. I don't know. Shields was here already. He saw her up close. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think like Josh Pastner.
Pastner to me is like the ultimate young man in a hurry who somehow everyone decided he was this genius, and he's gotten great jobs.
Spolstra.
And not Spolstra. The difference is he wins. I mean, he's actually proven it now. So anyway, this is a very fast rise to a Big East job. And look, 6 years is a lot. I don't know how patient Providence fans are going to be with him. We'll find out. They loved Cooley, and so did other Big East fans. My wife, Xavier fan, she and her family, they love Cooley. Everybody loves him. He's such a character.
What's up with him?
He's just like, he's a funny guy. He's very he's self-deprecating.
Spoon hour.
He does have some of the, there's like, he just has like an easy charm about him. He's a charismatic guy. He's always known how to kind of work the media and fans, and he's a very likable guy until you realize like he's probably been lined up for this Georgetown job for way longer than either he or Georgetown wants to admit publicly, based on the real estate listing that was ready to go right after Ewing was fired, and the real estate listing that had snow that had not been on the ground for weeks. Things like that people are like, this was clearly in the works for a long time. I can tell you, Providence fans are furious. Like, they're really, really mad.
They felt like it was like they thought they were married, and then he just left with the dog.
He already had another family.
Holy shit!
I mean, it's that kind of.
That's unbelievable.
So English. What I'm saying is, English is walking into a powder keg of a situation. So I think Providence, one of the things they wanted to do was get a guy who knew how to talk to fans and relate to people and be good on the mic and all of that kind of stuff. And maybe somebody that can kind of calm them down and that they can get behind in pretty short order. I can't, English has that skill set. The question is, does he have the skill set that translates into winning games in the Big East? Cooley had a patchwork roster of transfers this season. I have to imagine it's going to be a much different roster this coming season. And, the winning in the Big East is a lot different than finishing in the middle of the A-10 2 times.
I've got two guys that are good on the mic and have basketball backgrounds they could think about. That Mason, you go with Kane or Undertaker.
Yeah.
Doesn't Kane have, which one of them played it like Truman? One of them played it Truman.
I think Kane. Yeah.
Yeah, Kane did play Truman.
Yeah.
What's his real? I don't care. Is this official? Like official, or is this like West Pine Bills texting us official?
This it's being reported by Jeff Goodman. It's being reported by Stadium. It's
okay then.
Yeah,
I'll read it. I'll read it. If it's on the teleprompter, Zach Miller will read it. Mike Rhodes is piecing out from VCU for the Penn State job. He's headed to Happy Valley.
Yeah, it's still, it's still being reported by everybody, but it's all over the media right now. And it hasn't been made official by either Rhodes or Penn State yet, but I think we can kind of, I don't know, there's enough smoke here where I'm comfortable talking about this one too, Zach. And this is to me, this is bigger news for the A10 than Kim English leaving, right? I mean,
oh God, yes.
George Mason has not really done much since entering this league
in any sport,
and that did not change in English's 2 seasons. No matter how much excitement they had around him. But Rhodes won the league this year when Dayton and SLU were supposed to, and VCU has probably been the most consistently very good program in the league since they've entered, and they've got another opportunity here. I mean, they need to get the hire right again. They've been pretty successful with their hires so far, and it's going to be, I'm very curious to see what they're going to do here to replace him. As for Penn State, I don't know. I mean, like, the Big Ten is it's a big, bloated, overstuffed league, and Penn State has traditionally been pretty close to the bottom of it. So we'll see. But yeah, it's not official yet. But anyway, that's the news.
Pete, you know who's never going to leave us for a better job? 2 Men in a Garden. That's who.
That's right, Zach. Well, we've got a good thing going. They don't have a secret family in DC or anything that they've lined up ahead of time that we know of. But yeah, I actually just finished my second to last jar, and I'm already starting to think about that next order. I got to say, nothing has gone better with the NCAA tournament than their salsa. It's we've said it a million times. Chips and salsa is the best snack. And if you're watching the tournament, you need a good snack. You got to go with the best one, and you might as well get the best salsa you can out there. Get 2 Men in a Garden at any St. Louis area grocery store or at 2meninagarden.com.
We are giving up on the research question, not the podcast. We're still doing that. But the research question, we're kicking it to the curb. Instead, Pete, for now. Someday
I'll remember to start looking at that, and I will, but it's, someday when I'm less busy.
Speaking of things we've kind of pushed to the side, I think next episode should be our what if episode. Wait, no, I don't know. We'll come up with something. We'll figure if no news drops next week at all, we will do the what if episode on Billiken. We'll cover a couple of them.
Soon.
Why don't we do a couple, like we'll pick 2 for one episode, pick 2 a next episode. Well, I don't know. We'll come up with something. We'll work it out behind the scenes, guys.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. But we did put out a couple of poll questions, and we're definitely hearkening back to the Stu Durando piece. We're zeroing in on 2 quotes in particular, and that is this season, Pestello saying the season was not a bad season. That's the first one. Pete, what do you think of the results, and does anything kind of surprise you?
So after 12 hours, so the poll is going to be open another 12 hours, most of those while people are sleeping. So I don't think this one's going to turn around. 80.3% yes, 19.7% no. So about 4 in 5 SLU fans think that this, based on our, completely scientific poll, by the
Yes.
way, that this basketball season was a bad season.
Yeah. Which way did you or would you have voted?
I would say, yeah. I would say, yeah, it was. Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
like I think there probably are counterpoints, but
sure.
yeah, I think you got to say this was, and I'm assuming you're on the same page there.
Yes. Second question was Chris May was off Chris May's quote that this season, he was seeing an upward trajectory from previous seasons. And I asked, was the 2022-2023 Billiken basketball season an upward trajectory from previous seasons? Pete, the results on this one were even more stark.
Resounding a 98.3% no, 1.7% yes. So really the bottom line here is assuming our poll projects out to some degree within, I don't know what the margin of error would be on this one, but assuming
The margin of error is whether or not Dayton fans decided to vote in this poll.
but assuming this is a representative sample, what it's saying is that the vast majority of the fan base disagrees with his public quotes to the Post-Dispatch, and that to me is meaningful. This wasn't like a 50-50 or anywhere close to it kind of split.
And I think
says a lot.
I think the one caveat to this is that our Twitter account attracts the hardest of the core.
Sure.
Um,
That's true. It probably does skew less favorable from Chris May's perspective.
but that's important, I think, right?
Yeah.
Because you're looking at people that are spending ungodly amounts of money on this program and to watch this program, to travel to watch this program. It's
To listen to us talk about the program every week
for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Like, go touch grass. That's my new favorite phrase. Go touch grass. I love that.
I've noticed.
I think it's so funny. Let's move over to a program that has an actual culture and identity right now.
And an upward trajectory.
Yes, and absolute upward trajectory. Women's basketball. Kiley Bess has entered the transfer portal. Pete, I was kind of, I think I'm still getting used to the women's basketball, to the women's game in college, skewing more towards the transfer portal. Like it was never a thing for like the last 25 years, 30 years.
It's been weird to get used to. I mean, look, there haven't been a lot of transfers in men's basketball, historically speaking. It's obviously gone up as time has gone on. But yeah, we haven't seen it as much in the women's game. I mean, I think one of the reasons we talked about before was, I think I told you, like back when I was a manager at SLU, the young players, everybody who came into the program thought they were going to play in the NBA. And I don't think the majority of women's players enter college with, obviously that's the dream if everything breaks right, but it's incredibly hard to make the WNBA. There just aren't as many options. So if you're in like, say, a 4-year athletic training program at a school, you can't just pick up and leave and continue that somewhere else that easily, right? I think a lot of them are a lot more career minded at a younger stage than on the men's side. So I think that's part of it. But I also think, part of it is just, just the culture around men's and women's basketball has been different historically too. So it is weird to see. I'm not entirely surprised to see outgoing transfers, even though we are high on the culture that Coach Tillett has built at SLU and how successful she's been in such a short amount of time. Bess is one of those players that you would have thought would have had a role on a team that did not shoot very well. She's she's a really good shooter. You know, she's kind of a 3-point specialist. It's a shame it didn't work out. It's the second year in a row that a 3-point specialist has left. And it's going to be interesting to see what we do to kind of replace that. But she wasn't getting the minutes. Her minutes really regressed from last season, which was the last season under Stone. So I'm not entirely surprised to see that. One of the other factors that we're going to see more women's transfers now is with 15 scholarships instead of 13 like there are for men. That's just more people competing for the same amount of minutes. And so they're going to go find them elsewhere. So obviously, best of luck to her. But do you think we're probably going to see some more transfers, Zach, or do you think she holds on to the rest of the roster as it is?
Yeah, I think she'll probably hold on to it. I don't see like it didn't. I mean, what is Belle Tillett going to transfer? And I actually thought that would have been a funny tweet, and then
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of rude. Like it was like it's funny, but like also like
Yeah.
I doubt that anybody wants us putting that in the atmosphere. Like I just I
Sure.
don't know, it just it
Yeah.
feels dirty in a way.
She's also a redshirt freshman coming off a chronic foot injury.
Yeah.
So
Speaking of injuries, was Kiley Bess injured at some point? 'Cause why did I feel
I,
like she?
I thought she was earlier this year, but
Yeah.
but then she played a few minutes in a game middle of the season, and I kind of thought, okay, there she is. And I thought maybe we'd see more of her because at the time I know we were really struggling from the 3-point line, but no, I guess she wasn't maybe as injured as maybe we thought.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking down this roster. I mean, Saval Ghul, is she done?
She walked on senior day,
Okay. I mean,
so
I'm
I
sure
think
she's probably anxious to get back to Turkey. Um, and because she's had so much go on
you're
with her
right,
stuff.
and get back with her family.
I think early I was worried about Mia Castro. Obviously she wasn't getting a lot of minutes early on, and then her role majorly expanded and then
Hmm.
kind of fell off at the end there. She played a lot against Tennessee, I think, just due to size.
Hmm.
Sarah Lazar, a sophomore, didn't get hardly any minutes.
Yeah,
But I
and
mean,
she did get minutes last year
yeah.
under Stone as a freshman, and then you wonder about the other freshmen that Stone was the one who signed, like Ashley Connor, Abby
Well,
Leiber. Those are two.
remember that the roster was much like the epidemic of stress fractures in the foot that they had to call on Sammy McLeod to play for the women's
Mm,
basketball team. Like everybody was injured last year too.
that's a good point. That's a good point.
So I don't want to hold it against Tillett for maybe making the wrong decision. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
She
Yeah,
did play. She played against SIUE. Played against Baylor, Ball State, Air Force, but only got 4 minutes max, and that was SIUE. So it'll be
yeah.
interesting to see what happens and who they bring in. I'm interested to see if Abby Leiber will make an impact next year. Ashley Connor, we didn't see much of at all. 5'11" freshman.
Yeah.
There's so many names here that I just didn't.
Well, and those two specifically were both Stone signings that Tillett retained. So those are two that I would wonder about. They're also from, Cleveland area, Pittsburgh area, not necessarily nearby. There are a lot of different options, closer to home if they're looking for more minutes. But who knows? I mean, maybe they see their number get called as time goes on.
Yeah, I mean, looking at we're gonna have Peyton Kennedy as a senior next year. Bree Johns, her minutes kind of fell off late. She'll
Hmm.
be a senior. Julia Martinez, I think she's coming back again. Like it was said on the broadcast, but
Yeah, we'd love to have that confirmed in writing
yeah.
somewhere.
I need to go rewatch that. McMakin is coming back. Camry Clegg will be gone. Kennedy Calhoun will obviously be back. Yeah, I it'll be interesting. I think there's a lot of that core coming back, and I think the only one that really is going to be a major loss is as far as minutes and points and production is Brooke Flowers.
Yeah, it seems like that's the case for now anyway. Definitely something we'll be keeping a close eye on though as it evolves this spring.
Yeah. Let's run down baseball real quick. Tough week
Yeah.
for the guys. You know what? I thought it was kind of cool. I tweeted out just offhand, like, and I want to maybe like I kind of want to apologize, but not really. When I tweeted this out, like all I said was "Slew baseball, you're killing me this weekend," right? And I
Hmm.
just meant it like, oh man, you got like we're just right there, and we just keep,
Yeah.
a 7-6 extra innings loss, or a 7-6 walk-off loss, a 4-3 loss on another walk-off. Like I was just like, oh man,
I
like
know.
you're killing me. Like I certainly wasn't like saying they weren't playing well or whatever. But yeah, I love that Hendrickson took the time out to see that we tweeted that. We didn't even tag them, but I
Right.
love that Hendo took the time to respond to that. He said, "Stick with us." We laid it out on the field this weekend against a really tough West Coast team.
Yep.
So, um,
I think Andy Bennis liked that reply too, if I saw that correctly.
yes, he did. He
Former Cardinal
replied to it.
starter.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Is that the most famous person that's replied to a tweet? That's tweeted and added our account. Larry Hughes, no, I don't even remember if Larry Hughes.
Well, he definitely responded when we were setting up the interview with
Yeah, that's true. So I guess it is
him.
Larry Hughes.
So yeah, but I mean, those are both guys who played like over a dozen years in their respective professional leagues. So yeah, he's definitely up there. But that was cool to see, and you're right. It was good of him to respond, and it wasn't like a dig at the program or anything like that. Just some dramatic losses here. The first one, Zach, was a 2-0 loss in a one-off game to Eastern Illinois on the 22nd. SLU could only gather 2 hits in this one, both against the starter for EIU, who went 7 innings, and it was a staff game for SLU. Eastern Illinois got one off Grant Fremion in the 5th, and he wound up taking the loss. They got one more in the 7th, a sac fly with Caleb Thompson pitching. But this was for a staff game, for a midweek game, a one-off game. This was pretty low scoring, quiet bat kind of affair.
Yeah, this one was yeah, I mean, like surprisingly in a staff game, right? Usually staff games are like 15 to 12. It takes
Right.
about 5 hours, but to see a weekday game, you know, I mean, to have a EIU starter go 7 innings is kind of wild in the middle of the week, but
Yeah.
um,
It is.
yeah. This weekend was tough for the Bills, as I said the whole week was, but it was an 11-4 loss at San Jose State on Friday the 24th. I got to watch most of this one. Sitzman opened the scoring with a homer, and then the Billiken bats went silent. That was until the 8th. Jansen doubled to score Swanger and Smith, and then Bergman single scored Jansen. But that was all the Billikens would get in that one. 7-6 loss at San Jose State. Cody Jansen was injured in this one, legging out a single. Looked like he hurt his knee. He was having trouble putting weight on it. He would walk about 4
Ugh.
steps. He would walk about 4 steps, and then the leg would kind of give out. It just looked awful. By the way, Cody Jansen kind of scares me. I don't know. I don't want to meet him in a dark alley. This game, it seemed to be playing out almost identically to game one. The Billikens were in this one, though, able to get to the Spartan bullpen in the final third of the game and tie things up. The Spartans then scored the winning run in the 10th on a walk-off single. A 4-3 loss in the 11th on Sunday. Billiken scored all 3 runs on a Cameron Swanger 3-run bomb in the top of the 4th and held the lead until the bottom of the 9th when San Jose State tied it. And that's when I tweeted out, "You're killing me,"
Yeah.
because I was so excited for them to win that game,
Yeah.
and I was ready.
Painful game.
Yes. And of course, they walked it off in the 11th. Chafin was 1 out away from a complete game shutout. He walked the first batter, then forced a pop up and struck a guy out before a single gave SJSU runners at first and third. They had a 2-run double and then a single to tie it. led off the 11th with a double after an intentional walk, a single end of the game. Colby Downard pitched the 11th and took the loss. I will not make a pun on his name. I will not make a pun on his name. Pete, what do they got coming up?
Tuesday the 28th at home against SIUE, and then they've got a weekend series at UMass on March 1st to April 2nd.
Softball had a nice week that ended with them sitting in first place in the Atlantic 10 standings. They started off with a 15-3 win at Lindenwood on Wednesday. SLU got one run in each of the first, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth innings, and then went off for a 10-run seventh. This one only took 5 innings, I believe. Or did they play 7? I don't know. 9 different Billikens crossed the plate. 6 different Billikens had multi-hit performances. Abby Mallow led the team with 4 RBIs, and Chloe Ryan led with 3 runs. Wendling started and went 5 shutout innings. Callie Hanner gave up 3 runs in 2 innings. I really should have read it all the way to the bottom.
They scored 10 in the 7th, so that's why it was so out of control.
Abby Mallow has been raking this week. Pete, she had a major performance in both of the Billikens wins against George Washington over the weekend.
She did. In an 11-3 5-inning game against George Washington in game 1 on Saturday, the 25th. She got 2 RBIs on 2 singles. Chloe Wendling got the win. Zach, your note here, Yabos from
Konecki and Sullivan.
Sullivan, yeah. And then Konecki added to her RBI total with a fielder's choice. So really nice offensive team performance here. And then in game 2, Wendling got another win, 8-7. Jane Konecki had a 4-hit day. Natalie Sullivan scored 3 times. Cammie Newbanks and who else? Abby Mallow both homered in that one to give them the sweep on the day. But Zach, game 3, not quite the same story on Sunday the 26th. Wendling got the loss in this one. GW's first 3 runners in the 7th walked, reached base on a fielding error, and got hit by a pitch. Then the 4th batter hit a single right through the left side, and that was the tie-breaking run. SLU wasn't able to match in the bottom of the inning, and that was it, unfortunately. Sounds like these games were not available for SLU fans to watch, unfortunately.
Yeah, just really disappointing. It seemed like we took a step forward last season. Streaming every game. Our guy Colin Surrey on the call. I just don't know why these games weren't streamed. I mean, it couldn't have been weather, especially today here in St. Louis. It was absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
You have to I thought it was a rule, honestly. Like the A10 should require for any sport played at an on-campus facility that it be streamed 100%.
Yeah, with the ESPN Plus and everything, I mean, they should say, at least a certain amount of games have to be available, and there's no reason why these wouldn't be.
I mean, the money, they gave us all this money, right?
Right. What's it for?
Exactly. And I wonder, I don't know. We did have somebody reach out about women's softball at Lindenwood being not streamed and no live stats. I just want to point out that's not a SLU thing. That's Lindenwood.
Right.
SLU has no control over that. So, yeah, I don't know. That really upset me. I think I decided though, while you were reading about the George Washington results, that I'm going to go watch a video about why softball pitchers can pitch 500 games in a row and it doesn't hurt their arm. I know why, but I want to learn the science because it's just funny to me.
Yeah.
Wendling threw 4 games this week.
Right. I know, it's amazing. I mean, they'll pitch both games in a doubleheader. It's crazy.
It's just like Pete Weber bowling 5 games in a day, right? It's underhand.
Best athletes in the world.
Absolutely.
As they said in
Who do you
Kingpin.
think you are? I am. Men's tennis 7-0 win versus Baker at St. Clair Tennis Club on Saturday, March 25th. I don't know which Baker College this was.
There's Baker College, in Michigan, and
I'm going to
Baker
guess Baker
University
University.
in Kansas. Yeah, I don't know. That would be if I,
I'll
if
go
I
with
were
Baker
forced
in
to pick,
Kansas.
I would say Baker University, but I don't know because they didn't link it. And then in the write-up, they just called it Baker. Made me wonder if they even knew.
It was actually Buddy Pilastro from Cake Boss. It was actually him. They just played him. It was
Just
a
the
baker.
Baker.
He
Oh
was
yeah, it
just the
was
baker.
just all lowercase.
Yeah. I hate myself. Have I mentioned that?
You have, yeah.
Yeah.
14-2 is their record now, matching their highest win total since 2009. But it seems like maybe when you're playing a
Baker.
college that may be college or university, the strength of schedule is not quite tough this year.
No, not too much. Although, it is weird. I feel like tennis could kind of skew to the same as like baseball, where it's everyone's kind of a hired gun. Not really,
Sure.
Baseball is there, you're going for the team wins, but like you don't have to go to Ole Miss to make the major leagues. Again, college tennis is kind of like college soccer in ways too, in that like the best players certainly don't go to college.
Yeah, they're already being tracked
Yes.
and through different systems.
Women's tennis dropped a 7-0 loss to Butler at St. Clair Tennis Club on Sunday, March 26th. Bills were swept in singles, were up 5-3 in number 2 doubles, but the match went unfinished. SLU dropped 12-5 on the season. Next is Missouri State on Wednesday, March 29th. Pete, talk about the greatest name in the history of track and field.
And one that I stumble over every time too, the Raleigh Relays, hosted by NC State on March 24th and 25th. Not a team event, just an individual event, but yeah, the Raleigh Relays. I love it.
His name is Toby
Raleigh.
Gillen, and he runs fast, Pete.
Amazing. It's really, I think what we find is anybody who comes on our show then becomes a world-class athlete in their respective sport.
Yeah.
They go from just, rank and file college player to on their way to the best that ever was.
We need to get more Billiken men's basketball play. Actually, we need Travis Ford back on the show to become a world-class coach.
Oh, wow. Wow. Are you leaving that in?
I thought it was funny. I thought it was a joke.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
There you go. Yeah.
It's all a bit, guys. Come on.
You are, but the timing of that show, timing is everything. Timing and audience. But why don't you tell us about what Toby Gillen did at the Raleigh Relays?
Toby Gillen won the 5,000 meters, and that is not even like the gist of what he did. He broke his own school record with a time of 13:35:29. It's also the top mark in the NCAA 3 weeks into the season. And I know it's more than that. I need to look this up. Hold on. I know it's more than that.
Well, he broke his own school record by like 32 seconds.
Right.
Which is like unheard of.
Right. But even more unheard of is that like he also like the record was another record too. Toby Gillen won the 5,000 meters of the Raleigh Relays last night, setting a school and meet record in the process. His time is currently the fastest in the NCAA.
Right, which is what I said here.
Did you?
The currently the top mark in the NCAA, but it is 3 weeks into the season.
Oh, I thought it was like the all-time NCAA record. I thought that was the point.
No, I think they just mean this season.
Oh.
No one in D1 NCAA or in the NCAA, whatever, has ran faster than that.
Oh, okay. I thought it was way more impressive, but still.
No, that's huge. I mean, we're always looking for, can we get somebody into the regional and then the championship meets?
Yes.
And if you've got the fastest time partway into the season, you're certainly a candidate for that. So that's amazing stuff from Toby.
On the women's side, Pete, Carly Sear set a PR in the 10,000 meters with a time of 35:46:45. No team scores, as you mentioned. Billiken Invitational is on March 31st. I believe it starts at 1 p.m. So if you have Friday off on the 31st, go check it out. Should be a good event. Pete, any last words for the Billiken fan that may be down and out on the Billikens in general? My thing is take up other sports within Billiken athletics.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, I agree that there's that. And then there's also, you can always be forward looking if you're following recruiting, right? I mean, you can always think about what's coming next, what's on the horizon. How do we get better? How do we eventually start finishing in the top 3 in the A10? And if you're following recruiting, that's one way to give yourself that kind of hope.
Yep. That wraps up the dramatic week in Billiken basketball and a decent week in Billiken athletics. Follow us on Twitter at Midtown Mad Pod, at Peter is a tweeter, at Zach Miller MMP, and on Instagram at Midtown Mad Pod. If you have any suggestions, shout them out to us. Subscribe to the show on all platforms, leave a review. Pete, no matter what, go Bills.
Go Bills.